We believe the purpose of owning a business is funding your perfect life. Welcome to the next generation of growth and opportunity in the inspection industry. This is the Empire State of Mind. Empire State of Mind. Helping build companies with faster growth, higher profits, and more time freedom. Finally, a podcast for the home inspection industry and beyond. This is the Empire State of Mind. And this is your host, Matt Williams.
Hi, welcome to the Empire State of Mind. On today's show, I have Jake Edenfield from Kansas, and we're going to be talking about multi-inspector, solo inspector, commercial, sales, all kinds of great stuff. I'm so glad that you tuned in today. Hey, Jake, thank you so much for being here on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to hang out with you for a little bit.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You came highly recommended as a guest to come on the show. And just a minute ago, we were chatting and trying to get to know you just a little bit. And I'm really excited to have you on the show. I know that you're from Wichita, Kansas. Where is Wichita, Kansas? What part of the state is that in?
It is pretty much in the, I call it southeast. We're about an hour north of Oklahoma border. I don't know if that gives you any recollection there, but yeah. Population of about 600,000 if you added in some of the small towns. So it is considered the biggest city in Kansas because Kansas City is chopped up and half's in Missouri and half is in Kansas City. So we are the biggest city in Kansas. So we are the air capital of the world. And this is where Boeing started.
Boeing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We
Wow.
have, we have constant airplanes above us night and day.
That's interesting. Is there still a big airplane plant there?
It's Spirit now. I think Boeing got bought out, and now it's Spirit, and we have multiple other airports. Obviously, just the normal airport, and then we have an Air Force base, McConnell Air Force Base here too. So lots of planes in and out all the time. Oh,
that's really interesting. I didn't know that Boeing was from Wichita.
I say that it started here. I know there's a Seattle. I just know that it was very big in here. I want to retract that because somebody listening could go, that's not where it started. But Boeing was very big. Employed tons and tons of Wichita people for a long, long time. Still do with Spirit.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and little known fact, Bill Gates started Microsoft here in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Wow.
And and of course, it was just in its infancy. He started here. It didn't take long, and he moved up to Seattle for a few reasons. I think his family was from up there, and then also the banks here wouldn't give him the financing necessary, is what the story I was told.
Really?
Maybe I'm wrong, but I heard that. But yet he got the financing in Seattle, so he ended up relocating his business. So, but yeah, Microsoft Computers technically started in Albuquerque.
There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, it was the founding offices. There's a little plaque outside of it, and actually, we just inspected it 2 weeks ago, which is kind of funny.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah,
yeah. It was a tiny little garage. It was like, you know how they see those pictures of like Amazon starting in a little garage and Apple starting in a garage. The Microsoft startup garage is actually here in Albuquerque.
That is awesome. And if I remember correctly, and I'm old, so. But if I remember right, Amazon started in a garage selling books, or renting books, if I can remember correct. I think they started in a very small place as well.
They did, yeah. They started in a small place, and they were selling books out of a garage.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, these little startups that start up. Actually, Jeff Bezos was born in Albuquerque.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that wild?
You've got a lot of stuff going on there in Albuquerque.
Yeah,
That's
they all
awesome,
leave.
man.
That's the problem. They start here and then they leave. So Jake, you've been in the inspection business for quite a few years now, and you have different backgrounds. All of us do. Normally, inspectors, you have some sort of a background that kind of gets you into it. How did you get into the business? When did you start in your inspection industry? I made the decision in late 2020 to, I had a full-time job. I was making six figures. I was in sales, and it was working for a Caterpillar dealership, believe it or not, the big machines that do the roads. I just, my personal life, I had some things going on, and I made some changes internally and mentally, and Before I was with Caterpillar dealership, I was in the foundation business, and
Okay.
I worked for a company out in Nebraska. They had broke into the Kansas market, and they had opened up an office here, and I was the sales manager for a short period of time. There was about 15 guys that worked for me, and our job was to go in and help anybody with settlement, wall failure, water entry. It was to go help them. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot about foundations doing that, and I liked it. I liked helping people with their biggest investment that they had. People seemed gracious. They seemed open armed. They were thankful. My wife has been a realtor for almost 20 years, and so I kind of knew a little bit about the business. I mean, not a lot, but I knew a little bit. And I lay in bed one day and I said, I want to be a home inspector. Didn't know a thing about, I was not technical. I didn't know anything on the technical side. So I joined ASHI, and I went through ASHI's online schooling, got to the point where I think they call you a member and you had to do 250 inspections and then you become certified.
Okay.
I also did InterNACHI because I wasn't for sure who to go with, and I'm still with both of them. To this day, I'm still with both of them. And I jumped in full force 2021. So it's been 3.5 years. I learn something new every single day. I mean, there's always something to learn. And I love what I do. I love helping people, and that's why I named the business Profound. It's just, I think it's a profound moment in life, whether you buy a $10,000 house or a $10 million house. It's just it's a day to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Profound inspections.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It's kind of funny. Like, I hear the story a lot about people getting into the business where they're like, well, I know a little bit about this and that. And then they start like looking into it. And then they realize like, man, I just love helping people with this.
Yeah.
And isn't it? It's such a cool spot to be in. I think it's like a little bit of blue collar, a little bit of white collar. And I tell you, that's a balance that a lot of people have a hard time, making that's a tough balance, right? And I think as a home inspector, if you can make the white collar, blue collar balance back and forth, because you're going to show up to $1 million house, and in my market, and I'm assuming in Kansas as well, $1 million is a pretty nice house.
Yeah.
And I know like in California or some other markets, it's maybe not that great of a home, but it's still $1 million stinking dollars, man. That's a lot of money, no matter who you are. But you show up in with a very high end luxury home, and if you got to be able to white collar it up just a little bit, with that kind of a crowd and be able to level up, right? And it's kind of interesting to me how like we have to almost be a little bit of a chameleon as an inspector to be able to adapt to our environment and the clients that we're working with.
I 100% agree. And that's, I said I didn't have any technical skills. Let's just throw a water heater out there. I didn't know anything about a water heater. I mean, I knew that it produced hot water, and I knew that, there's a hot and a cold line. And other than that, that's about all I knew.
Yeah, cold water goes in, hot water comes out.
Right. But being from sales in the past, where I taught individuals how to sell. And I think that helped me grow the business. You get told no often, to come up and find somebody's why do they need, why do they want, is once you break through and you get a little emotional with some people, I mean, that's what people want. They want to know how you can help them. Yep. A lot of times I would hear inspectors, they would say, I can't get through. I don't know how to do this. And in my eyes, you provide a service that will help them, and tell them how you're going to help them. They really don't care about you. They want to know how you're going to make their life easier. There's a couple codes that I live by that I try to keep in the back of my mind when you're making sales calls, or when I was making sales calls. I haven't made any in a while because business is decent.
Well, that's good.
But, it's just persistence. And, I think if you get down to an emotional piece with a realtor or, just a regular client, I think that you can hit home some good things.
Yeah. So you have a pretty extensive sales background. What are some of the ways that you approach sales that you think are effective? Maybe some areas where maybe you do a little better than others that you can maybe I don't know, maybe helps one of our audience members with?
When I started, a lot of times it's just the little things. And, when I very first started, of course, I would go to realtor offices or brokerages, whatever you want to call them. And, 9 out of 10 times, at least here where I live, you had a gatekeeper. That's what I call the front desk person, is just that, you knew the managing partner was in the building because their car's outside, but they wouldn't let you through. Follow-up was big with me. After I would drop something off, I would make another call to the point where they knew they had to talk to me at some point. And I would rather take the middle finger bird, give me that, than just never talk to me. I would rather you tell me to F off, if that's appropriate for this podcast. But
everything's appropriate.
I was very persistent. And then
so you rather have the bold rejection than the
look, I understand there's, 50, 100, 200 inspectors in our area. I get it. And you have your favorite. I understand that. I'm not asking to be your number one. I'm asking you to be on that list. And here's a sample report of what I can do and what makes me different than X, Y, and Z. I don't want to be at your top, but I know at some point you're going to need another option. And that's where I want my name to pop into your head.
I've done the same thing actually in my sales. Like I'll go talk to realtors and I'll tell them straight up. I was like, oh, you have somebody? Cause they'll tell me that like, oh, I got a guy already. I was like, oh, I'm not trying to steal his business. Just put me on your list. Let me be your backup. And they're like, okay, yeah. And I laughed and I was like, it's okay. I will earn my way to the top of your list. Just put me at the bottom. Let me earn the way to the top. And they normally they kind of chuckle about that a little bit, like, okay, all right, but yeah.
And then the follow up. So anybody who, gave me the time and talk, I would always follow up with an email or a phone call and say thank you.
How often do you follow up?
It depends.
How long do you wait to follow up? How often do you follow up?
When I very first started, when I was getting my name out there through, trying to get people to understand who I was, I would follow up the next day with an email or a call to that person. Whether they answered it or not, I would leave a voicemail. If I didn't hear back, I would wait about a week and then follow up with a phone call. Okay. Phone calls are huge. A lot of our younger generation is more towards text. That's kind of their thing. And I totally get that. I like that way too. But a phone call, I think you can get more personable. You can have your the voice, you can kind of hear how somebody feels, a little bit.
This business is super relational too.
For sure.
I think real estate business is super relational. Realtors are mortgage, title. They're always interacting and they have to be able to manage conflict together. If you have two different realtors, different sides of the deal and, all the different things to get through the transaction, that relationship really helps grease the wheels. And because they're relational, we have to be relational.
Absolutely. And, if somebody gave me an opportunity, if a realtor said, hey, look, I got one next Wednesday, can you help me out? When I very first started, I had thank you cards made with my name on them at Profound Home Inspections. And I would throw in a $5 or $10 Starbucks gift card. Anytime anybody ever, allowed it. And I would send them out at the end of the month. I would have a list and say, at the first couple months, it was maybe 4 or 5 that I had to send out. And it was a handwritten note. I hand wrote on there, thank you. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you, whatever the case may be. And I would get tons of calls and they would just call and say, thank you for, I know it's only $5 cup of coffee, but they really enjoyed that. And I think they remembered it. I would also do short video text. So I would do a video. Matt, if I was wanting your business, I would just get on my phone and I would do a video and I would send it to you on text and it'd be short, within 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And I would just say, hey, I hope everything's going okay. Let me know if there's anything you need, whatever the case may be. And people really, I do that at Christmas too. I still do that at Christmas.
That's a great, and you say their name and everything. So you would hit up and say, hey, Jake, I just want to say thank you so much for all their business and the relationship. I want to say Merry Christmas to you and your family. Hope you have a fantastic holiday.
Yep.
And send it. That's it.
That's it.
But you put their name in it?
I do each one. I said
so they know you're not just copying and pasting. You're saying it to them, right?
It takes about 30 seconds per, and I sit there before I hit record and I think about who's their dog? Well, who's their husband? Who's their
wow.
wife? Who have you known? I mean, with the CRMs that we have, if you will, with inspectors or whatnot, you can throw in information, and the more personal and emotional you make things with somebody, the more they're going to tie on to you. I think that's my personal, I guess, experience in the past.
That's fantastic.
It is. And it really, I see a lot of candy boxes going out. And that's one thing that I'm not on every one, but a couple that I needed to. I would say, look, I know cards and candy and peanuts are handed out by some of the vendors around there. And I would just say, I feel that this is a more personal approach. And I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate what you have allowed for me to do with you. And I'm always here for you. And Merry Christmas and enjoy your time. And I got so many calls when I started doing that. They were just like, nobody's ever done that before. Thank you so much. And, So it does.
The best part is it's free.
I didn't spend $1. I mean, a Sunday afternoon. Yeah.
And sure, time's money, blah, blah, blah. But if you're sending out gifts, it takes time and money to go buy the gift and get it and send it out. What you're doing doesn't require, all it just requires a little bit of time to sit down and get it done. And you're right. That's such a deep connection that you make with them. And
it is.
If you dive into your CRM and help you and your spouse, whatever's name. And I know your kids have been doing this, and and little Johnny, I hope his football season went well. And you just put that together real quick in a video and send it. And they're like, dang, this guy remembers me. He knows me. We're relational. Wow.
30-second elevator pitch, if you will. It's just quick to the point. I'm not trying to sell you anything. All I'm doing is saying thank you. That's it. And Merry Christmas.
Wow. Man, Jake, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
it doesn't even take that much. I think that's incredible.
Send it to your team. I think it works. I really do. And of course, you'll have your handful that never respond to you, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I know you're growing, and the business has been growing. In fact, you recently brought on your first employee. Is that correct?
I did. My first employee is my son. He is 20 years old. He did college for a year. He was redshirted on the football team. There's a community college here called Hutchinson Community College, and it's just north of us a little bit. And he came home for summer, and we're sitting at the table, and he just said, Dad, I don't think I'm ever going to make it to D1. I don't think I'm ever going to make it to the pro. And quite frankly, I don't like school. And I always was the dad that said, look, don't waste my money. If you don't want to go to school, you don't have to go to school. But if you want to, go. And I'm here for you either way. And he said, he didn't like it, and he wanted to start thinking about his future. And I just kiddingly said, well, come work with me. And he said, I would love to. And that was August. So he's working on his certification badge through InterNACHI. He's with me all day, every day. He's pretty much got the interior portion of the house done, other than the mechanicals and plumbing and whatnot. He's learning. So
that's awesome, man. That is so cool.
It is. And I'll tell you what, Matt, I guess you could call it, I don't want to call it lazy. It was just the way that I inspect. I mean, I got to the point where the one-man show, 2 inspections a day almost became too much for me. From the phone calls, the emails, the inspection, finishing, writing the report. I was, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night before you got done. And so I went to a point there where I was only taking 1 a day. It was just 1 inspection a day. And I got home and done with everything. Let's just call it 2 p.m. And I felt good. But the money wasn't the same. So with him, we do 2 a day, every day. And I pay him what I feel is pretty well. You could probably train me on some of that, but I think I give him a good amount of money, and he's learning, and hopefully in the future, it's a career for him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I think, you pay what you feel comfortable paying, but as part of IEB, the Inspection Empire Builder group, we actually have, a formula for that. And
in our pre-talk while we were and that's something that IEB is something that has been on the back of my mind. There's an inspector out of Topeka that called me, and he's in your group, and we had talked, it was months ago, and he had mentioned, hey, are you in that? And I said, not yet. And he said, look into it. And I haven't dove into it, but I hear nothing but great things.
it helped me in my business, and I think it helps a lot of people when they join and get involved. But yeah, it's one of the things that is helpful is you get to learn from guys who are maybe a step or two in front of you, and they give you formulas and they give you roadmaps and they say, hey, watch for this, look out for this, and it's something that when I decided to go from single into multi-inspector, which was, man, that was a tough decision. Looking back on that, it was a few years ago, and I remember I was inspecting. I was doing 2 a day. The demand was really high, and I started adding 3 a day.
Wow.
And I was doing 3 a day, and pretty soon I was doing 3 a day, 6 days a week. And then on Sundays, I would actually go to church, and then depending on how backed up I was, I might throw 1 or 2 in the afternoon on a Sunday. And I essentially found myself in a place where I just slept and worked 7 days a week. And that was super unhealthy. Looking back, it was super unhealthy.
I 100% agree. I think, people talk about a work-life balance. It's just balance in general. I mean, we got to work, and being a sole inspector or, a multi-inspection firm, we don't get, owning your own business, you don't get time off. I mean, you're always on. If the phone rings, you got to pick it up. If the email comes through, a call from a past client, future client, but you do have to make sure that you have some time for yourself. I think that's healthy.
Yeah, you got to be able to do that. And I do think so. Now I'm at a place where a few years ago I was at that fork in the road, where you're at right now, and now I'm at a place where my business runs itself. I have other people that answer the phone, other people respond to the emails. I have inspectors out inspecting, and so now we've divided up the responsibilities, because one person doing it all is a lot of work. We divided the responsibilities up, and so each person kind of handles their piece of the pie. And now it's like, as the business, I get to be a business owner and not a business doer. And I remember years ago at that fork in the road trying to decide, do I want to be a multi-inspector firm or not?
I know.
It was a tough choice in the moment. I wasn't sure what to do with it.
I'm on the fence. Like I said,
What are your thoughts on that right now? Like, where do you think you want to go?
Man, I am 100% on the fence. I have not leaned one way or the other, and I'll tell you why. I talked about my past, and I was a sales manager for a while. I had 15 salesmen with me at one point on one side, and then when I went to the Caterpillar dealer, it was just me. I was in sales, but it was just me, myself, and I. Nobody else. I had my territory, I had a company truck, and I absolutely, at that time in my life, I loved it because I didn't have to worry about anybody but myself. What I missed was training and helping people be better human beings. There's life goals along with work goals. There's, you build relationships with people, and I like that. I mean, I hope nobody takes this the wrong way, but you want to be remembered for something in life. You want to be remembered.
Absolutely. We all are here. We want to leave our mark. We want to have a legacy of some sort.
When you pass, you want everybody, just not everybody, but people to say, he taught me this and he was very good at this. And so I missed that. I missed that. And then you hit it right on the head when you said, my vision, if I closed my eyes and I was to dream, it's where you're at. If you surround yourself with people better than you, it meaning somebody that can answer the phone better than me, and you put them in that position, somebody who can, manage the commercial side, you put them and you let things run, and you do what you're doing, and you market, and you try to sell, you do podcasts, how do I build this even bigger, or how do I help people, and that's where you're at. And I really like working by myself because it's just me, and I don't have to worry about Ted calling in late and not showing up, and I have to, I don't worry about that right now. But on the other side, on the right side, I've got the other person saying, you missed this other side, and you have a vision to where things run themselves. And gosh, this is going to sound cocky, but you kind of sit back, you grow it, you grow and invest in the business, but you also make money doing what you love, and that's helping people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've said this before, but if you want to be like, what's success, right? What does success mean to you? And I think ultimately success is your business doing for you what you want it to do for you. Yeah. And if success is, I have no employees, I don't have to answer to anyone, I don't have a boss, I don't have any employees, I don't have my stress level is really, really low, and my income is decent, and this is what I like to do. That might be success, and there is nothing wrong with that. That's a great life, right?
Not at all.
But then for some people, like crazy people like me, like success for me is I was willing to walk through the fire. I was willing to walk through the difficult seasons and do things that other people are unwilling to do in order to get to the place I wanted to be. Because success for me was I want my business to run with low effort from me, and that on my inspection side. And I want to basically parlay that success. And how do I train other people to find that success too? And so now I get the opportunity to run a podcast like this and do other personal coaching and stuff like that, where I get to help other people realize their dreams. And like you said, Jake, at some point you're like, man, I hope one day when I pass, somebody goes, yeah, I remember that guy. Right. He helped me do this. He helped me get to there. Yeah. And it's like, and there's a legacy that's left behind. And, you know, sure, we got it in our kids. Like I got a couple of kids, you know, my legacy will be there, but yeah, I don't know. Like,
no, I totally, you know, and it's something that it is, you know, I'm year 3, I'm 3.5. And, you know, it's something that, you know, between that and commercial, I kind of want to get into at some point. You know, it's something that I need to really think about. IEB is something that I probably ought to join and get some good camaraderie with people that have went through it and that could give you some good advice.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's just, I think it's there. I think the opportunity is there. It's just like you said, you know, or do you want it or not? Are you happy?
Yeah.
Or you're not? And, you know, I think Gary Vaynerchuk says it, you know, he says some of his best friends that make $70,000 a year are the happiest people that he knows.
Yes. Yeah. Because once you know, like, this is what I want on the inside.
Right.
Because I think sometimes I've fallen into this trap before of looking around like the left and the right and like comparing myself to my other friends and being like, well, they own 5 businesses. I only own 3, you know, I better go hustle and buy more businesses and it's like, why am I even doing that? If I'm looking to the left and to the right, ultimately it's like, no, I got to look on the inside and say, what makes Matt happy?
What are you happy? Yes.
Right. Yeah. What is success to me?
Right.
And sometimes we get pressure, you know, from the environments that we're in of what's going to be successful or not successful. And I think it's hard to resist that temptation sometimes.
I agree. I mean, the older I get, and Matt, you might have this feeling too, and I know we're probably off subject, but the older I get, yes, I want money. I want money and I want to own a business and I want this and I want that. But the older I get, where I live, the house that I have, the car that I have, it goes down. You know, it's like, I don't really need that anymore. I don't know why I wanted that 5,000 square foot house. I don't need that.
Right.
You know, so it's all about happiness and it's all about a balance, you know, in life. Just be happy and work and enjoy life because we're only here once, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you too. Like you know, at one point I had the big house and all the stuff. But then I realized like, man, I got to heat it. I got to cool it. I got to clean it. I got to maintain it. Those property taxes are going up, you know, and pretty soon it's like, it's not even just the buying it, it's just the maintaining and keeping it that all of a sudden starts to get like really expensive. And pretty soon, I don't know, at least for me, I got a smaller house now and my life is really simple and I'm very happy. And, you know, my house isn't as big as some of my friends' houses and I really don't care.
I know.
Now, when I was younger, I cared, you know.
That's what I was going to say. I used to really care, and you know, with the market the way it is and interest rates the way they are, as everybody knows, I feel like I'm one of the buyers right now that I'm stuck in the house. I mean, our house is too big for us, but we want to move. But it's like, so you're going to have the same payment for half the house if I was. And I don't think that's a good idea right now.
Well, no, because especially if you like lock down some of that 2.8% or 3% interest, you know,
that's where we're at.
Yeah, you lock that in, and now you're looking at like 6% interest, and you're like, wait a minute, like, cash flow wise, you know, you're better off staying where you're at because the equity is still growing, and you know, you're right, you're better off just staying there and keeping up with what you have there.
That's
right,
man,
for sure, man. Yeah, so going multi-inspector is certainly a big decision. I will say this: when I made that decision, there was like I don't know who explained it to me, but like rooms and hallways, you know, and you're in a room of efficiency, you know, like right now as a single man operator, you're in a room of efficiency where you have absolute control and there's the profit percentage is really, really high. The gap between this room and the next room of efficiency, that there's a hallway that happens there. And And at one inspector, you're very efficient. And at 4-ish inspectors, you can become very efficient again. But inspector 2 and 3 is a hallway that you have to get through. That is like, for me at least, I was making less money.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that's
so
a
now
good
I've got
analogy.
6 inspectors, right? So at 6 inspectors, I'm not in the field anymore.
Right.
And so I'm making the money that I used to make when I was in the field, but now I'm not in the field.
Yeah.
But between 1 inspector and about 5 inspectors, it was a tough go. I was still in the field through a lot of it, and I had to put in extra work to get there. Now I'm at a place where I'm out of the field and I'm making the same money as I did when I was a single guy by myself doing it. And
that's awesome.
yeah, and so now and that's kind of a great place to be, where I'm putting in less effort, but I'm getting that same return on it. So they talk about that a lot. Where are the efficiency windows, right? In every single business, there's efficiency windows, and going from one to wherever that next window is in the inspection business, that pathway, people will get stuck there. They'll get halfway through. They get really frustrated. They get really tired. They get exhausted, and they want to quit partway through it. And your only option at that point is to retreat back to a window of efficiency or push forward to a window of efficiency. Sometimes people in that hallway, they'll put a couch and a TV and camp out in that hallway and be extremely frustrated with their business and their life because they're in between the 2 windows of efficiency stuck in a hallway. So if you're going to push through and go from the one into the multi-inspector firm, understand where that next window of efficiency is, and know that I'm going to have to work really hard and push really hard for this next season to get to this next window before you're going to find it. I'm at a window of efficiency right now. And in order for me to go to the next level, I know what it's going to take. And I have to go from the space that I'm at now. The next window is down the road a ways. And so I'm actually at that same fork in the road of, do I stay where I'm at, or do I push for the next one? And that next plateau, that next level, and the path of the hallway in between here and there, you got to like count the cost of like, what's it going to take to get there, and be disciplined and diligent to keep pushing through to that next window of efficiency.
I like that analogy. I do. I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. You know, I'm the, if you asked anybody that knew me, I am the perfectionist, if you will. I am the OCD guy. And one of the things that, you know, I think you need to have a plan for is training.
Yes.
I want my, if I'm doing what I have done and I became successful, I feel that we need to continue what we're doing, and to train that person or persons, to me, is could be a hurdle. I mean, you're still trying to work. You're still trying to get your 2 inspections done. And now you have to train on top of that. So everything in my mind is like, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? And I'm stuck on that fence, you know?
Yeah, it's a tough decision. And when you make the decision, you got to be committed to knowing this is going to be a tough path until I get to this place, and knowing when you get there. And you're right, the training, all those things. And, you know, and there's in the training process, I mean, you know, this with sales, you've trained in these other areas. It's the same thing. You get somebody about 80% there, but that last 10 to 20%, they're not going to get there if you're standing there. Like they have to like get that last little bit without you standing there. Yeah. And that's like a scary moment as a business owner.
It is,
to let the bird out of the nest when you know they're not as good as you. But the only way they're going to get there is when you're not standing there helping them. They just have to figure it out in the field. And there's that tipping point. I think as an owner, because it's like, as you know, Jake, like our reputations, my name's on this, your name is on it. And so it's how do I, with my name on the business, how do I trust somebody else to go out there, do a high level job, just like I would have done if I was out there? And you have to be able to trust that they're going to do that. And man, that is so tough to do. I think
it's tough.
And perfection is the enemy of progress. So if I'm expecting perfection, I'm never going to get there, and my trainee will never get there. And so as I'm expanding and growing and training and releasing employees, it's like, if they have to be perfect before I let them go, they're never going to go. They're not going to find perfection until after they're out of the nest and flying on their own and learning some hard lessons underneath my name. And that's tough as a business owner to be able to have the guts. It takes some guts to like let somebody go out and do that, because they have the power to screw up your business.
That's the one thing that when people have asked me in my past, I mean, I'm going back years, but, you know, one thing that, you know, an interviewer or whoever, what's one thing that you feel is a downfall of yourself. I tell them I'm a perfectionist, and that's something that I have to work on, is letting go. Let that, let them learn. They're gonna fail, and you fail forward. You fail, you learn, you don't do it again, and you move forward. And I've had to do that many times, because like I said, if I don't understand something, I will give a shout out to, I've got some mentors, that I've met, a couple local, a couple's not local. One of the guys that, him and I talk at least weekly is Casey Bartley out of Tennessee. He's a good guy. And I don't know how, but we have some sort of a relationship. I don't know how it happened, but I flew out and rode with him for 3 days, beginning, trying to figure out how things were. We're both what for the national home inspection exam, the NHIE. We're both subject matter experts. We're meeting in San Antonio next weekend to sit down and go through that whole test. And
that's fantastic.
We sit down with about 12 guys.
Is that where your foundation experience comes into play then? Or are you for the NHIE? I'm curious about this. This is interesting. So you're a subject matter expert on all of it, or just foundations, or just certain areas?
All of it. Well, I've only been to one session before this in Cincinnati. There's about, I'm going to guess here, there was probably 12, 15 of us that met. We met for 2 straight days, and you sit down and the session I was in, they pulled up question after question after question after question that's on the test. Does it make sense? Is it correct? What are A and B too close? How do we separate C? We've got somebody in the ICC code book. We've got somebody in the NHIE book that was written for the test, and we're all collaborating and say that one works. Let's keep that on the test. Or hey, that one doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Let's switch it up because it can be confusing. It's basically there's so much, there's in-depth stuff about NHIE, scientifically stuff, but it's just us getting together. And there's new inspectors in there. There's 3-year inspectors. There's 10-year guys. There's 20-year guys in there and gals. And it's just to try to put our industry a little higher. A lot of states use that NHIE for their testing for their actual license. So we want to make it as
in New Mexico. Yeah. New Mexico license is the NHIE test.
Yeah.
Is Kansas a licensed state?
We are not.
Okay. Yeah. So
we are not.
So we've all had to take it. Me and all my guys had to take the NHIE.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got some bones to pick with you. I'm just kidding.
I only went to one so far. We're working on it. But with ASHI, you have to take that. InterNACHI has their own. With ASHI, you have to take it, and it's proctored. You go sit somewhere and 200 questions, and it's just like a realtor license, if you will.
It's a tough test.
It is, and that's what
it should be.
It can't, and that's what we discuss. There's no gimmies. You need to know some stuff, but you can't. Can the entry level person understand it? You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't get too in depth because. There's a couple questions, and I'll just be quite honest, and hopefully this isn't going over their, I don't know, whatever the word is, where you can't, you're not supposed to talk about things, but there's questions on there that we would read and go, that doesn't really make sense, and we'd pull it out, and it's just because things have changed or we don't understand this anymore. So it's a good group of guys, and Casey and I, it's a time for us to get together and talk shop. What's working, man. What's not working, how are we doing? Yeah. So,
and I love to hear that the NHIE has that going, that they are like critical of their own.
Yeah.
Like they're questioning themselves and critical of themselves and self-reflecting in that sense of like, okay, what's working, what isn't, is this clear? Is this not clear? And because some of those questions, can be confusing, but to be able to run it through a crowd filter of like, is this working? Is this not working? Does this make sense or not? I think that is super healthy that they do that. I didn't know they did that.
They do. Yeah.
That's actually really encouraging to hear that they have that kind of process.
Yeah. And, and it's just like you said, things change, and you want people to be successful, but it's not gimmies on there. You gotta study, but they're continually trying to get better. It's really cool.
That is really fantastic.
Yeah.
That you're part of that community. So Wichita, Kansas, you're out there crushing it, doing a great job. I love that your son's joining your team and helping you out and starting to learn the thing. I know as you're looking at that decision to go multi-inspector or not, I hope that you find the resources that you need. If you need any other resources, you can reach out to me, but you can also reach out to IEB and see what they have. There's a lot of guys that have had that fork in the road and they have found the community inside of IEB to be something that's been helpful for them. So I'm hoping that, if you're going to head down that path and you decide, what, I think I'm going to go there.
Right.
It's a great resource to have. And if you go to the website, iebcoaching.com, you can find all the different resources. You can sign up for different types of classes too. Even if you don't want to join the whole big community, there's some smaller stuff you can get for resources too.
And I read, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it now? I mean, I think the perception from some inspectors in the past was it was strictly for multi-inspection firms, but now you guys kind of cater to the solo inspectors a little bit too, correct?
Yeah. So I joined when I was solo and on the fence on growing.
Right.
And so it helped me get there. There's actually a lot of guys that are solo in the group.
Yeah.
There's guys, there's massive companies. There's companies that are in like 7 or 10 different states.
Wow.
So the largest inspection firms in the country are part of this group now. And then there's guys that are solo. Some guys are just starting out, and some people they're happy at one. And so we have different groups. And so we subdivide actually into smaller pockets. The guys that have 300 inspectors, across the country are having a different conversation than the guy who has 4 or 6 inspectors,
right.
or the same thing. Yeah. Right. And the same with the one, the challenges that the solo guys facing are different than the challenges that the massive companies facing. And, and they're just, and so they do subdivide into smaller pockets to be able to help everybody grow and achieve their goals. And again, your success is what you want it to be at. And so I think IAB is a great resource. I found it helpful. There's other groups out there.
Oh, for sure.
Find your group, find your tribe for sure. I'm a huge fan of that. And if IAB is the right fit for you or for anyone, then join it. And if it's not the right fit for you, just find your group. And you've kind of assembled a little bit of group already. You already have a set of peers that you're working with, and people like JC on the group. And he's a very well-known guy in the industry.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't know how we became friends, but we are. There has been, I even got a kind of a good feeling the other day. He had, in his area, fiber cement's very prevalent. A lot of the cladding is fiber cement. And he called, and I thought, hey, he just wants to, BS for a little bit. And he said, hey, I ran into, LP Smart Side, and I don't see it very often. What do you got on that? What can you tell me a little bit? And I see it daily. So I was like, I finally get to help my mentor a little bit. I finally get to give you some information. So I thought it was a little giggle from me, a little bit of giggle. But he also, I am the EDI, Exterior Design Institute, which is all about the outside of the house, stucco, adhered stone veneer. I went through that training on a level 2 as well, and he was kind of the guy that said, go do this. It'll help you learn about, anything from windows, doors, flashing that you need to know. And I think it's Ron Huffman that I think he's in charge of all that, president maybe, but it was good. There's a lot, there's something that I tell other inspectors, if you're not learning something every day, I just don't think you're fully in it. I don't think that your mind is in it if you're not learning something every day. As well as I do, you go to a house and you don't know if you just put it on Facebook and say, hey, can you help me out with this? What is this? And I know there's a time for that. We got Google in front. You can figure out what that is, and study it, don't just get the answer, figure out why, and then you learn something. So it's never ending, man. And I enjoy what I do. And I know we talked a little bit about, realtors and working with realtors, and I've got great realtors that I work with.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of business that comes just from Google. It comes from, people, word of mouth. And I think, like you said, being able to chameleon, who do I give the fist bump to and who do I shake hands with? There's blue collar and there's white collar. And there's different.
Is it a fist bump or a handshake?
There's just different ways you can on our side of town, the south side is all, it's blue collar, and not to say that there isn't white collar on that. So, vice versa, but,
right.
You get out,
you get out Northeast and it's a lot of white collar, and, you know, it's two different ball games. And if you can't figure out how to fit in, you know, that's how you got to figure it out, is just how do you fit in, and how do you be their friend? And then next inspection, go be the guy's friend that's buying a $59,000 house that needs a lot of work, you know? So,
right. Yeah. How do you, and that's serving your client. Ultimately, you're serving your client by how to help them, you know, deal with what they're dealing with. Right. Absolutely. And help them make the best decision possible.
Absolutely.
Man. Well, Jake, thank you so much for being on the show today. I just want to say it's been great having you on a guest, and it's cool to see you on your journey and looking at you have the decision in front of you, multi-inspector solo, where am I going next? And I hope that you find the answer, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, I appreciate you, Matt, and thanks for having me. This has been great. And I will definitely, it's on my list of things on my notepad is IEB. You know, I think bottom line, whether I decide to do multi or not, I think that's going to be a good group to be a part of. It's like-minded individuals getting together, and we have an industry, and how do we make it better? And, you know, how do we make ourselves better? So if you ever need anything, I'm always here. I doubt you will, but if you need it, I'm a phone call away, brother.
That sounds great. If I find any of that concrete siding you're talking about, right? All right, man. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
All right, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
You've been listening to Empire State of Mind for the home inspection industry and beyond. Our passion is to elevate the home inspection industry with mindset, strategy, and tools. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. For more, follow on Instagram at IEB Coaching. And don't forget to hit the website at www.iebcoaching.com. Learn about IEB at no cost and have all your questions answered on our open call once a month on the third week of the month. We hope to see you there, and we'll see you next time on the Empire State of Mind.